Welcome everyone. My name is Nina and I run Ajo Center for Sustainable Agriculture. So it's noon and we welcome you to our workshop series. We have an amazing speaker today who also happens to be my personal mentor and sits on the board of Ajo Center for Sustainable Agriculture. And he was my former boss as well, and really teacher in so many ways. So I'm super excited for this workshop, and I hope you are too. While we're giving people a few more minutes to log in, I will just ask you to please mute yourselves. You can also just shut off your video camera so that we will have a full attention on Terrell. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat box, feel comfortable to do so. The way this will go, we will run the presentation. Terrell will do his presentation. But if you have questions arising in between the presentation, please put them in the chat and we will make sure at the end of the presentation, Terrell will answer all of them. And then, of course, he will be open for all kinds of questions from you as well at the end of the presentation. So please continue muting yourselves and give us, so it's 12:01, give us another minute or two just to make sure that everybody who wanted to jump on can jump on. And we'll see you shortly. Let's not waste any more time because this is a very valuable topic and people might want to ask a lot of questions. So then let's start without much further ado. Please welcome Terrell Johnson.
Thank you. Hang on. I just lost people. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, well, hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Terrell Johnson, and I will be giving you a perspective on how myself and my family have been picking a saguaro fruit or bahidag out here on the reservation, and it's just a perspective. I've been doing this for as long as I can remember with my family, and then when I started working for an organization called TOCA, we actually started having group gatherings and coordinating harvesting for the community. And so that was a span of over, I would say, at least 30 years right now. And so over the years, when I first started, remember my earliest memory picking saguaro fruit was with my grandmother and my family. We used to go to my my grandparents' traditional picking area, and I remember our whole family going out and picking, and I always remember tagging along with my grandmother, and carrying a basket, and she was picking the fruit, and I was following behind her, picking the fruit off the ground and throwing it in the basket. So I would just remember those those memories. And when we started working in the community, I would have groups of young people go out with me and pick. And it was something that we did during the summertime. Out here on the reservation, there wasn't many positive opportunities for young people to 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 do things during the summertime when school was out. A lot of the programs that were um, meant for young people during the summer, they pretty much were all full. So there was a lot of kids that didn't make it into those summer programs, and so they were always looking for something to do. And going out and picking saguaro fruit was something that was free. It was in their backyard. So I would load up all these kids in the back of a truck and head out into the desert and pick. And when we would pick, I would show I would show the kids how to pick and the things that you got to do when you are picking. When you're picking saguaro food, your first thing you do is to bless yourself. You bless yourself and you thank Creator for providing this fruit, but also you're blessing yourself and you're praying for rain to come down and water the plants and bring life to Mother Earth again. So these things I would pass on to the kids that I would have that were joining me out picking. But I always would recruit my grandmother to come and cook. She would teach us how to prepare the saguaro fruit when harvested and prepare it for jam making or syrup making. And my grandmother would sort of keep to herself, and I would have to explain to the kids what was going on. And every now and then my grandmother would drop would talk about certain things that you're supposed to do or how to prepare or what you got to do to make the syrup. And I would share this. And so it just grew every year, every summer. It was one summer maybe with a group of 10 kids, and then the next summer it would just grow and grow and grow. And every summer when it did get bigger and bigger, we would utilize the elders in the community, and we would invite other people to come and share their knowledge about the saguaro fruit. One person in particular was Christine Johnson, who at the time was an elder in the community, a well-respected elder who was very knowledgeable about traditional songs, about stories, about cooking traditional food. And she would share songs about how we would go out and pick songs that you're supposed to sing when you're picking or when you're cooking the saguaro fruit. Um, and those things were really important, and I really valued those times with Christine, along with other elders in the community or just community members that were willing to share. Over the years, as the saguaro harvest camps grew, I mean, like I said, we started with 10 kids, and every year it will grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll get um, 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. I think 300 people was the most that we had at our camp. And organizing those kinds of events was months in advance. We had to worry about feeding 300 people in the desert. We had to worry about finding cooks, finding the basic things that you would need in the desert. We actually would camp out in the desert for 3 days, 4 days, and we would have to accommodate 300 people. So this is when my family would come into play, where we actually would hire my mother and her sisters to cook for 300 people for the weekend. We also would invite community members to come and help prepare the food, help take groups of people out in the desert, prepare the tools that we needed for picking the saguaro fruit. And so again, this was this was a process. This was months in advance of planning on who's going to do what, where we're going to go, what community are we going to be camping out at. Actually, also scouting for potential picking places around the reservation. So, this happened every year, and I looked forward to doing this every year. Um, from what I learned from my grandparents, my grandmother, I was taught from a young age to teach what I learned. And this was something that I, along with other people that worked in the organization that I worked with, did. Um, and it was fun. It was fun, but it was a lot of hard work. As you know, in the desert, during the summertime, it can get, as high in temperature as around 110, 115. And, when you're out there in the heat, um, picking this fruit, you got to be mindful of the people that are with you. And so these are the things that we did. And every year after camp was over, I always would tell myself, I'm not going to do this next year. But when that time came around, I was ready and psyched myself up to be in the heat, and did it. So over the years, it became something that I always looked forward to. You know, According to autumn tradition, the time for picking saguaro fruit and the time for the wine ceremony was the new year, was considered the new year for the autumn people in the desert. Because again, this is when we harvest the fruit to make jam, to make syrup, and the syrup then is used to make wine during the wine ceremony or the rain ceremony. And the idea the the idea is to bring the rain, to 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 the reservation, to bring rain to the earth, so that it could provide for the people and for the animals. And this was considered a new cycle in life. Um, the new year. So these were the memories that I remember. And over the years, when we first started, we started out just inviting anyone who wanted to come out. And over the years, other community members, other communities, but also um, other tribes would come and participate. And the idea again was to pass on what you learned. And with the people that participated, these communities and these different programs and these different tribes, they came and learned. They came and learned and went back into their own communities, their own areas, and started sharing. And it just grew from there. And so right now, there's several organizations, several programs here on the reservations that coordinate Saguaro camps, which is a really, really amazing thing. Um, but there also have been families that have been doing this for years and years. And it's really exciting and really hopeful to see a lot of this tradition carried on. Um, for myself, there's still a lot more to do. There's still a lot of people that we want to share this experience with. I'm going to be sharing a video that we've been working on, um, myself and my family and my niece especially. And we put this video together. It's not done yet, but I'm just going to show it because it has a lot of imagery of what to expect when you do go out and you pick the saguaro fruit. It doesn't have any voiceovers yet, but it does have music, and I will probably be talking over that and just giving you a play-by-play of what you're going to be seeing in this I think it's 11-minute video. So Caitlin, if you can get ready, we'll play that. Um, can everybody hear that? Caitlin, there's no sound.
I think I was muted. Just try it again.
So this was last summer, and we organized a group of community members to go out and pick. So, we wake up at the crack of dawn around, 4 or 5 in the morning, and we head out to the area where we're going to be picking saguaro fruit. And so we have a caravan of vehicles that go out to the area. This is my brother Nolan, who is our farm manager, but also going out and showing people how to pick and where to pick. Today, actually, I mean that particular day, it was just our family. So it was my nieces and nephews that went out to pick that day, and so it was just them filming them going out and picking. And this is Nolan actually preparing some of the sticks, the picking sticks that we use, which is called coipas. And so he's just repairing some of the loose sticks that were loosened the day before when they were picking. And usually when we usually pick every chance we get. And that means like every day, early in the morning, we'll pick before the sun gets too hot. And then we'll save on what we picked. And when we finish picking, we spent one whole day cooking. So this is my niece Isabella and my nephew Julio. Oops. Oh. Did everybody hear that? Let me see, where was I? We were out there picking the saguaro fruit. And the goipots that you see, that the tools that we use to pull down the fruit from the top of the cactus is actually made from the ribs of an old cactus that had died and had been laying out in the desert. So what we do is we go and we harvest those cactus ribs, and then we clean them and break them apart, and then we put them together with either a wire or, as you saw my brother using duct tape to use to go and pick the saguaro fruit. So again, it's usually a team that goes out and picks. One person's pulling down the fruit from the cactus, and the other one's going around watching where the fruit lies in the desert and goes, and their job is to go around and pick it and clean it and pull the pulp out that's in the fruit there and throw it in the bucket and move on to the next cactus. So again, this is done again and again and again until you fill up your bucket, or if it gets too hot. And so again, what you do is you pick the cactus that has the most fruit on there. Sometimes you get these juicy bahidag, these fruits on there, but sometimes you also get a lot of the dried fruit that has been dried out in the sun, and they're sitting on top of that cactus. And so what we do is just knock them down and we grab them. And the dried fruit is caramelized in the sun. And they say that those are the best ones to get because it's caramelized, so it has all that concentrated sugar in there, and it makes for a really good sweet syrup or a sweet jam. Here you got Nolan again knocking down the fruit from the cactus, and everyone else is going around picking up the fruit from the floor. And you know, again, you know, it's hard work, but it's also fun as well, especially when you have your families to go out there and share their experience with you. Um, you know, again, you know, sometimes we when I was young, we used to make it a game. We used to have races on who could fill their bucket up faster. So again, you know, some of the fruit on there hasn't opened up yet or haven't ripened yet. So you leave those there and then you try to maneuver your guipa to pick out the ripe fruit or the dry fruit that's up on top of the cactus there. And here you got Isabella pulling down. It's her turn to pull down the fruit. And then once we're done picking, we load up the truck and we head home and start cooking. This particular day, we actually were making jam. And so what we're doing here is actually soaking a lot of the dry fruit, adding water to it and breaking up the clumps that the cactus, that the fruit had. And we always cook our syrup and our jam on a mesquite fire. It gives flavor to the jam. And so after you soak your pulp and you break it up, you add it to the pot that's going to be put on top of the fire there, and it's going to be boiled to loosen up a lot of the juice from the fibers. And what we do is we add water to this pulp, and we just wait until it starts to boil. A lot of the cooking this bahidag, a lot of it has a lot of symbolic meaning to it. A lot of people say that when you see this foam start to form, it's the clouds, and the clouds are going to go up and create the rain. So you want this to happen, but also it also carries up the impurities that are in the saguaro fruit, because when you're knocking them down from the cactus, it lands on the floor. And so sometimes you pick up twigs and you pick up rocks. And so when you boil this, a lot of that heavy sediment will go down to the bottom, but a lot of the leaves and the twigs and the sticks will float up to the top. And this is where you skim the top off and you are left with clean fibers that you would later on strain. So it gets pretty hot. I mean, you know, you're talking about temperatures that are around, you know, 110, 115. And here we're cooking on an open fire. Again, the family helps. We got the younger ones chopping wood for the fire. We got them chopping the wood, and we only use mesquite wood for this. We have Izzy again picking, breaking up the large clumps in the saguaro fruit. I actually like this part because you actually get to lick your hands after you taste the sweetness of the fruit. Um, After boiling, we take it off the fire, and this is where we strain it. And this is an important part where we have to really work fast, because you don't want this juice to cool down, because once it cools down, it starts to get thick, and you don't want that happening, especially when we're going to be making jam. Here you got Nolan straining the juice. And what we do is we separate the juice from the seeds and the pulp. And here, once we separate that, we have we lay it out in the sun, because you can also utilize the pulp and the seeds. And you have Izzy there breaking up the pulps and separating the seeds from the pulp. Once you get that done, in order to make jam, we want to save the fiber that's in the saguaro fruit. And here we have Clovey cleaning and separating the fibers from the seeds. And here you can actually see the fiber being separated and cleaned. And this is actually going to be used as a thickener for this jam. It's a natural pectade. And here's Jesse actually teaching some young people how to separate and what to look for when you're cleaning this the syrup, the pulp from the seeds. Once that's done, we also again continue to save the juice, and we are going to be using that and adding that into the fibers that we separated. And this is again what's going to thicken up the jam. So here we got a tub of the liquid that we're going to be pouring into this pot where the fiber's at. And what we do again is cook that, put it on the stove and cook it again to thicken it up. And again, this is a long process, a long process where again, you know, you got you know, one pot boiling on the fire, and then you got other people cleaning and straining. You got other people pounding the pulp. And so once you get all that done and you cook it, this is what you end up with, and it's a thick, sweet jam. And what we do then is we bottle it. We bottle it and we save it. You know, again, it's a team effort. It's a lot of work. And once we save that, we can have that year round, but also we also donate to the rain ceremonies that the different communities are having. And again, this is turned into wine, it's fermented into wine, where again, we sing for 4 days and 4 nights, praying for the rain, praying for Creator to provide for its people. And at the end, this is what our product is. And this is Nolan and Jesse and Izzy holding up bottles of the jam that they work so hard to make. So again, this is a little video that we put together, and it's not quite done yet, but hopefully we'll get it done and have it put on social media. So again, this is what we do. This is a perspective of what my family and my community has done for several years, and before that, what my grandparents and their grandparents did. So the whole idea again is to keep these traditions alive, to keep the traditional foods alive in the community. You know, growing up, I always was told, you know, utilize this. You know, this is what Creator did. This is what Creator provided for our ancestors, and this is what this is what He's providing for us now. Right now, in our tribe, we have the highest rate of diabetes, and it's because we veered away from eating our traditional foods and eating more modern foods that aren't that our bodies aren't used to. And so a lot of health-related, food-related illnesses happen, like cancers and diabetes and things like that. So one of the main reasons why we continue to provide these harvesting gatherings is again to teach and to pass on the tradition, and to make sure that the young generation doesn't forget this, and that they'll be growing up healthy, and that they'll live longer. So so if there's any questions, feel free to ask. I think you can ask them in the chat line, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask, you're more than welcome to. It's a little shorter than I thought, but you know, this gives us more time to talk and to answer questions. Anyone?
I would like to ask a question.
Yep.
Shani Anjurdik, Jonathan Securos, Amajud, South Comet community. So I I don't know if I missed it, but is there anything that you add to the bahidag during the fermentation process, or is it just letting it cook and boil for those 4 days?
Um, you know what? I really don't know because I actually never took part in the making of the wine. I think they just add water and it just naturally ferments. But I never took part in the actual making of the wine. So I'm sorry, I don't know if they do add anything in there. From my knowledge, I think it's just water.
Okay, awesome. So I imagine the amount of wine you had also may influence the kind of proofing you may end up with.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's not just one. They make a lot. So I don't know what the ratio is, but I know when I've asked, they just said that they have them ferment in these ha'as, these potteries, and I think it's a half and half kind of thing. And with the rain ceremonies, when I was growing up, pretty much most of the villages out here on the reservation would have these wine ceremonies in their own village. But as years went by, and with the elders passing, a lot of the villages weren't able to have these wine ceremonies. And I think this year I only know of 2 villages that are going to be having the wine ceremony. So again, with the elders passing on, a lot of these ceremonies aren't being kept going. So I'm hoping that when the younger generation learns this, they will start to keep these ceremonies going.
Yep, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Mr. Johnson,
Hey,
how are you doing?
good, Chloe. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. So my question is, I know last year when you were harvesting, do you expect a short season again this year? And how
Um,
high the seed is going?
I don't know. Every year it gets you just really don't know. I mean, with desert foods, with the beginning of the choya bud season, it was a really short season, and we really didn't have that much time to go out and pick. So with the saguaro fruit, they're saying that, well, yesterday out here in Sales, it sort of sprinkled a little and it was windy and there were dark clouds coming on. And I was thinking, oh no, I hope it doesn't rain. It didn't, luckily, but you're always afraid that monsoon season might come a little early. So usually before July 4th is when most people pick. So hopefully we'll be able to go out and harvest as much as we can. So I expect you to join us.
Of course, definitely. That was my next question. When you guys going so I can go make Winali and go to? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're still dealing with COVID. So the tribe actually put out a declaration that we aren't supposed to have huge social gatherings. So it might be just families that go out on their own to harvest. So last year and this year, we didn't have the huge harvesting camps that we normally would have. Myself, I usually invite friends to come along with our family and harvest. So if you're my friend, I might invite you.
Yeah, my butt bro smells that they come. Hey, thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Johnson.
yeah. So I don't know if anybody's asking questions in the chat line.
Yeah, Terrell, yeah, this is Nina. So I have a couple of questions in the chat box.
Sure.
And the first one is from Cherry, and she says, generally, from what time of the year to what time is the fruit at the right state for picking? At the ripe state for picking?
Well, right now, they are ripening and busting open because of the heat. They say the heat is really good because it will burst open with all that juice. And so right now to again, like before July 4th is a good time because you want to pick before the rains come, before the monsoons come. So, you know, there's maybe a 4 to 3 week window.
Okay. And the second question, I just read it. From Amber Sampson. Hi, Carol. Honored to hear you speak today. I have a silly question. When Isabella was scooping the fruit, it looked like she was only using the seeds inside of the fruit. Can you correct me? Do you use all parts of the fruit to make syrup or jam, or only one part?
You use the inside. Gosh, how do you explain this? You know, she's cooked. Isabella was scooping out the seeds and the pulp, the fruit part of it, and the green part that you saw was the skin of the fruit. So what you do is you probably also remember seeing Izzy cutting open a fruit and opening it up and scooping the inside out. So you use the inside of the fruit.
Okay, and Lisa had to go, but she says it was good to hear you. Then from Pam, you have another question. She's asking, I've heard that you all stop once the monsoon comes. Is that true?
Yes, you stop because they say that when the rains come, the fruit that's open, once it gets wet or once water gets into that, it makes it spoil. But also when the monsoons come, there's a lot of wind that comes, and the dried fruit that's on top of that gets blown off, and some of the fruit also gets blown off as well. So you know, you want to do that before the monsoon season comes.
Okay. I think that's it for the questions in the chat box, but if anybody else had any other questions, or Terrell, is there a way to, oh, Daryl, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to
I had
go
a
ahead and
question.
ask?
Hey,
Yeah,
Daryl.
Go ahead.
Hey, Terrell, how you doing, man?
Good. Thanks.
Looking good? Is it hot out there?
It's hot today. Yesterday was a record-breaking heat. I think it was 115,
Oh, wow.
and they're expecting it to be the same.
We got a little we got a little heat spell. It's in the 95s over here.
Oh man, yeah, look, that's cold for us.
Hey, I just had a question about the seeds.
Yes.
How would I be able to use the seeds? Can I use them like in baking? Are they considered like a poppy seed?
Yes. A lot of the byproducts from cooking the Saguaro food you could use. The pulp you can save for next year if you're going to be making jam.
Right.
The seeds definitely can be used. A lot of people ask, you know, can you plant the seeds? But no, because when you're boiling it, you're actually killing the seed but you can actually use the seed when it's cooked. I was told that a lot of the elders used to grind up the seeds, and it's really oily. So they would use the oil as lard or for using for cooking. So, but right now, for the seeds, you can use them in anything. You can treat it like poppy seeds. You
Okay.
can add it into your baked goods. When we had our Desert Rain restaurant going, we used to add the seeds into our pancake mix.
Oh,
So, there's if you become adventurous and want to experiment, you can play around with the seeds. But, I actually like them in cookies. And with the seeds and the syrup and the jam, we actually do sell that. Sorry, Nina, the Ajo Café does sell this, and they do have a online shop where you can actually purchase the jam, the syrup, and the seeds.
yeah, I still got some. I gotta put a couple of recipes together.
All right, yeah. Gerald is a chef, so be really exciting to see what you come up with, Gerald.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe a muffin or something.
There you go.
All right, Terrell. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. See you later.
Cool. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was a really good question, and we shared the links to the online store where you can buy the syrup and the jam and the seeds that you saw being made in the video. We sell these products from Nolan and Terrell and other producers. I do have another question from Ian. Hi, Ian. Oh, actually, I have two more questions. I'll go with Ian's first. Ian says, "Hi, Terrell. Thanks for sharing with us. How does bahidag interact with bow in your season, like when the monsoons come and in traditional foodways?"
Well, the bough is actually being planted now because we're getting ready for the rains to come. So the tepary bean is being planted now. After you I just drew a blank. I'm so sorry. But yeah, the tepary bean is planted now and is waiting for the monsoon rains to come, so that when the rains come, then the tepary bean will start growing. And again, this is what we mean by it being a new year, when the rains bring life back into the desert, when things are green. I mean, this is my favorite time of the year, when after it rains and things start growing, and the desert is this neon beautiful green color, where all the plants and all the trees are brought back to life again.
Great. I hope, Ian, that answers your question. And then we have a question from Vincent. Tosh, what is the process to making the syrup instead of the jam?
The syrup is made basically by not adding and separating the pulp. You would do that anyways to get the juice, the pure juice, to make either the syrup or the jam. Once you get that pure juice, to make the syrup is basically just a reduction where you're boiling out the water. For the jam, it's a couple more steps where you're actually straining the juice, but also separating the seeds and the pulp. You're separating the pulp from the seeds. And again, the pulp is a natural pectate that you add into the juice when you're boiling it, and it thickens it up. So that's the process. And a lot of people usually don't go the extra steps to make the jam. There's a lot of people that actually don't make the jam anymore. A lot of them mainly make the syrup, which is a little easier, but still labor intensive. Luckily, my cousin and my grandmother always made jam, and they actually had a workshop. My cousin had a workshop on how to make the jam, and so luckily, some friends of ours took the workshop, Jesse and Samantha, and they learned how to make the jam. So what they in turn did was teach us how to make the jam. My grandmother made jam, and last year my brother learned how to make the jam from Jesse, and I think Clovia also was there as well. So hopefully this year if we go picking, Clovia, you'll be making the jam too.
Sir,
So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, so um, yes, Vincent said thank you. And then Pam is asking, so you are actually making jelly, not jam. You're using the juice, not the pulp.
I don't know what the difference is between the jam and jelly. I think with the jelly, they also use a pectate. Um, so I think it might be the same. I don't know, Nina, you would probably answer that.
Pam, if I understand correctly, yeah, here you go. Jelly is using juice and jam is using the whole fruit. So these are Saguaro fruit jams, Pam. They are using the whole fruit. But what Terrell is also talking about is another product, which is the syrup. That's really pure juice cooked down into this smoky, thick yumminess. So I hope that clarifies that. And Amber asked, sorry, Terrell, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but also too is that there actually is nothing added other than water. When you get the fruit and you boil it down, you separate everything, but it's just water basically added. There's no sugar, there's no other anything added. It's just pure sweet natural product.
So that actually answers Amber's question, follow-up question. Do you add sugar to the jam? No, nothing is added.
No, not at all. No. If you ever tasted this, it's just the most amazing taste in your mouth. It's sweet, it's smoky from the mesquite fire. Sometimes I personally like having little seeds in there, and it's a little crunchy, for both the syrup and the jam. So, I mean, if you ever have a chance to taste this, or if you're curious and want to buy some from the online store, I encourage you to do that. Have a little taste of the desert.
It really is a treat. This is Nina again. It really is a treat. And I can tell you, being in a store or at the farmer's market, oftentimes people pick up a jar and they were like, whoa, this is expensive. And I tell them it is fruit. It is pure fruit and cooked for a long time in a way to preserve all the natural sweetness. No sugar is added, nothing is added. And once you go through the process yourself, once you are out there in 110, 115 picking, and then standing over the fire for hours to make it, you'll understand why a jar costs as much as it's cost. But it definitely is an amazing product. We love to serve it at our events too. If you really don't know what to do with it, like try a spoonful of the jam or syrup over your pancakes or ice cream. It really is a very unique treat and healthy for you as well.
Yep. And if you ever have an opportunity to go out and get invited to go harvest, please do. But be careful.
Oh yeah, and with chimets, of course, Clovia. That's the way to do it. That's the way. I do have one more question. I'm really glad, Terrell, you finished a little bit earlier so people can ask all these questions. So this is from Jonathan, and he's asking, how long can fresh fruit sit before it starts to change or spoil? Does it need to be processed right away, or can it sit for a day or two?
It could sit for a day or two, like I had said earlier, we pick for several days. I mean, maybe 5 days before we cook it. And what we done is we actually would refrigerate the fruit, or we would actually separate the pulp, the fruit from the skin and freeze it. And then the day we actually are going to be cooking it, then we'll take it out and we'll thaw it out and we'll start to boil it. So in the video, you probably saw several pots going at the same time, but you also saw people straining and jarring. Those all happen. And so because I think for a summer we would go through at least maybe 2 to 3, 4, 5-gallon buckets that we all had to cook down. And again, you don't want to keep it too long, or else it'll start to get rancid. I do recommend, though, picking the dried fruit that's that which is naturally dried from the sun. And so again, it's we used to call it autumn candy, because it was so sweet, because it was concentrated sugar, so it was sun dried. So I would recommend picking that, and you could just put it in a jar and save it for some other time.
I have more questions coming in, Terrell.
Sure,
So I
sure.
have one question: how long do you boil it? And then the other question is the fruit only found on the highest saguaro cactus?
No, the first question, it depends. It really depends. The idea of boiling it down and breaking it up, it just depends on how much you have and how good you broke up the clumps. But also it depends on how much water you add into it. When I learned to cook jam syrup, my grandmother didn't put too much water in there. So that meant that she didn't have to boil it that long, because you're doing a reduction. So you're trying to boil out that water. But we've had different elders come, and they would put buckets of water in there, and you would have to sit there all day waiting for this water to evaporate. And it just depends. It just really depends on how much water you add to your fruit. But it also just depends on how much fruit you pick as well. If you just pick like a saucer, a saucepan amount, you don't have to boil it that long. But if you pick up, again, like 5-gallon buckets, you're going to boil it for a while.
That makes sense. So, and the fruit can only be found on the high saguaro cactus, or
Oh,
no?
that's right. No, it doesn't. I mean, there's I'm 6'1", and there's a couple of cactuses around outside my house that are the same height as mine, as me, and there's still fruit being produced. So and I've seen them shorter as well. But also, it just, as long as it's, I guess you would say, mature enough to produce fruit.
Great. So we do have a comment. People are looking forward to rewatching the recording when available. So we are all looking forward to having that video too, Terrell, and sharing it. And with that, that's the end of the questions and comments in the chat box. So I don't know if anybody else wanted to say anything else.
Oh, just about an hour.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So,
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody. It was I got a little nervous. I usually um, am well prepared, but I just was like, gosh, there's so many things to talk about, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't touch on neither. But for myself, as a community member, but as a Thana Autumn, you kind of guard it with how much information you share. I know a lot of times a lot of elders feel that sometimes we share too much to the outside world, and they feel that it's meant for the Autumn people. And sometimes I had to kind of watch myself, because for me, I just like blurb everything out, and so you have any secrets, don't tell me. But it's just sometimes I got to be careful and mindful of that, because sometimes I can get scolded by my elders. So it's just something that I hope you don't take offense to. But for myself, I feel like I try to really be mindful of that in respect to the elders.
And you have two more comments. I'll just read them up to you. From Lisa, I remember my grandmother's stories of gathering the fruit for jams. Love it. Thank you. And I don't know who is this on the iPhone, but there was a thank you for sharing. I plan on making a cookie pot this weekend for the first time. As an Autumn, sometimes this is the only way I learn things. I'm so glad that these workshops and virtual world is helpful. From Seneca, thank you again. This was a mind refresher for me. Wanted to make the syrup, but kind of forgot the process. So that's great. And Miss Sherry said, awesome presentation, so informational. Thank you, Terrell. Would love to see and taste the finished product. I'll have to get involved.
Yeah, and if anybody, Autumn out there, that if this is your first time attempting to go pick or cook, there's I'm available to give you some advice or walk you through it. You can reach me through here. I think Nina, did you want to put my email up or something?
Yep, I can do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
or if you feel confident to join us, you're more than welcome to. You just wear your mask, and let's practice social distancing.
Okay. Hold on. I'm just looking. Okay, let me put this your email down.
Yep. And if there's any Autumns out there that are going to be picking and know what you're doing, like I said, I've always was taught to share what I learned, and I hope you all do the same as well, and continue to keep this tradition alive, and really take time to practice your culture. And if there's elders out there that you could rely on and use and talk to, I encourage you to do that as well. Again, we're losing our elders, and once an elder's gone, that valuable information and that knowledge that they carry is gone forever. So any of your Autumns out there that are going to be picking, happy picking, and be safe, and happy New Year.
And Pam just put down that her kids are Autumn and she would love for them to have a chance to go pick with you. So Miss Pam, I put the Terrell's email in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out to him.
Yep. All right. Well, there's not any more questions. Again, thank you so much. Sorry, I was a little jumpy here and there. But again, respect to the elders and sharing the information. So, but thank you again so much for joining us, and keep your ears and your eyes open for a lot of these workshops that we're going to be having again during the course of the season, with not only the saguaro fruit but the mesquite beans. We got also our traditional crops, So what else is there, Nina? Mesquite.
The prickly pear.
Oh, the prickly pear. Yes, yes, the prickly pear. So again, thank you again so much for giving me your time, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Terrell. Always a pleasure. And see you all soon again, and be safe out there.
Goodbye,
Thank you
everyone.
for attending. Bye.